All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and get started here in a minute. So, guys, we're going to go ahead and get started. Everyone, thank you for coming out to the Taney County Republicans, our Branson meeting on the west side of the county. We appreciate it. Got a very special day today. Mayor Larry Milton from Branson will be giving us a State of the City address, and we look forward to that. Here's about the good, bad, and ugly. Hopefully more good, and I'm sure it is. And another special thing, I'll let Brian introduce that. We got a very young Republican in the building today.
This is my granddaughter, Callie Jean, and my daughter, Reagan.
Thanks, guys. For
My wife, That's their priority.
With that, any further, we'll go on. And Kirk, would you say a prayer for us, please?
I would. Stand with me, please, and we'll pray. Heavenly Father, so grateful to be here today in one of the greatest towns in southwest Missouri. We're so blessed for it, Lord. We're blessed to be a group of Republicans and working for what's best for our country. Lord, we ask that you bless this food that we partake, and bless it to our bodies, Lord, and forever bless us to your service. This we ask in your most precious name. Amen.
Amen. And the flag's over here. Ira, would you start us in the flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, folks. You guys can be seated. So we're just going to go ahead and get started. If that's okay with you, I'm looking forward to hearing from Larry and other leaders in the room. So without further ado, I'll let them do all introductions. Mayor Larry Milton.
I gathered you here today to ask for your vote. Oh, that's another meeting. Hi, those of you who don't know me, my name is Larry Milton. I'm the proud mayor of Branson. I was asked to come and address the group and give a State of the City update. I have many things to say. How much time?
You're almost done.
You've got 30 minutes plus, and you can have Brian's 5 minutes.
Okay, so I'm going to cover some different topics of what's going on in our city. And if you would, please do not hesitate to raise your hand and to ask a specific question or ask me to cover a specific topic. If there's anything that you're thinking about, fire away, okay? Where do I start? How about we start with patriotism? Our city, just a few months ago, we hired a gentleman, his name's Cody Peterson. He is paid by the city of Branson. He is directed by Heather, who is our CMO at the chamber. His title is Military Initiative Manager. Thank you. Mm-hmm. So I want you to think about this for a minute. The community you live in may be the only community in the United States that has a full-time person doing nothing but promoting, honoring, and respecting our veterans. I don't know that another city has a position that's their only focus, that's their only job. Anything that you run across, the page you have, again, his name is Cody Peterson, and he's a great guy. In fact, Monica, maybe you'll help me with this. He recently went with a handful of people down to
Fort Leavenworth. Fort Leavenworth, Kansas.
That's right. Mm-hmm. So Fort Leavenworth is now, Branson is now Fort Leavenworth's official vacation destination. Woo!
Hey.
The intent is to promote our patriotism. A lot of it has to do thanks to you. And invite them to come up and visit Branson. He's also, his next trip is to Fort Leonard Wood. So like I said, his sole goal is to promote the patriotism in our community. And I couldn't be more proud of him. You probably have all heard of our 250th celebration of our nation's history. That is going to be in next year. Heather, in our chamber, they are taking that so seriously. It will blow your mind on the list of things that they're putting together to celebrate every single day next year. I talked to Governor Kehoe, and within the state, he shared that the St. Louis is going to have one big day of big fireworks celebrations, but not many others. And he formed a committee for the 250th. So we are engaged with him, sharing with him all the things we'd like to do, and we'll be asking for some funds. We assured him that Branson will make Missouri proud. If you're interested, we have our first committee meeting this coming Monday at 3:30 at the Chamber Building. It's going to be a meeting where Heather will describe a list of things that she thinks would be just fantastic for our community, and break us into groups to start. She's not setting up a committee where we get together and talk and get together and talk. She's setting up a committee with action people. We're going to come up with ideas, we're going to put some action plans together, and then at the next meeting, pretty much get updated on what we've accomplished for them. I take my hat off to her for starting a year early, right? She started this in January. She has some great ideas. She wants to be able to provide every household and every business in Branson with an American flag. I believe she would also like to have a certain day where all the flags are displayed on the same day, attempting to set a Guinness World Book of Records. So she's talking about painting a street with the flag, murals all over town with all of our patriotic messages. And like Heather said, our community, to be able to do this celebration, think of the rock solid base we already have that we're starting from compared to a lot of other communities. Right? It's just adding a layer to what we already do. Our city is financially very strong. We continue to reinvest in our community, and I'm so proud of all the investments we're doing. It's old news now, but it's worth repeating. Built a fire station last year, paid $5 million cash, no bonding for that. It is fully staffed, and on their this is up by Point Royale, their very first call that station had, the response time to the house they went was averaging 7 to 8 minutes. They were there in 3.5 minutes, which is fantastic, right? I'd like to see the results from things we do. Our police department, so proud of them, and I trust you are also. They get along. Our community shows them respect all the time. I know there are some communities that do honor and show respect to their law enforcement. There's also a lot of communities that don't. And to be in a community with you supporting and respecting our law enforcement, it just warms my heart. The officers know it, they recognize it, and they compliment me on a regular basis. And when I say compliment me, it's typical for the mayor to receive accolades for the things we're doing when it's not me, right? They're really acknowledging the police force. So I do go out of my way and share those messages with our police officers. Y'all know that just a few years ago, we were 40% short on patrol officers. During those times, our officers were going from call to call to call. They weren't able to do actual police work. Since we've been 100% staffed over these last 2 years, our vandalism has decreased by 41% because they have the time to police. Our burglaries over the last 2 years have decreased 47%. And I'm gonna tell you, it's not just the building a new building, it's not just all the things we do, but the fact that they are staffed in this, and I'm gonna compliment our city for stepping up and addressing their shortage of pay and the morale, which was very important. And we're seeing the results of that. What a great place to live, right? We have, never exciting to talk about water and sewer. However, we take water and sewer for granted until when? Right? So we are so proactive. We are constantly putting in new mains. Our water treatment far exceeds the state regulations as far as safety. And I didn't know this until I toured our water department. They test our water several times throughout the day. It's not like they test it once a week or once a month. So just having the good, clean, reliable water, many of us will take for granted until we have a broken line. But I'm proud of just being proactive in that area. As you know, we have a lot of old infrastructure in Branson. We have lines that are in the ground for 60 years. So we are going through, if you've heard me say this before, bear with me. We are going through each neighborhood and replacing all the water lines, one neighborhood at a time. We started this project last year. And the first neighborhood they chose, which is funny, I can say this in this room, I don't know if I'd say in public. The neighborhood they chose, which had the oldest lines with the most problems, was my neighborhood. So for two reasons. One is, there is no flipping way I was gonna let that happen. But we're also doing our Compton sewer plant at the same time. And because of all that construction traffic going in and out, they went to the number 2 neighborhood, which is Hiawatha Heights. Hiawatha Heights was to start last year. And I've had a few rumblings of, yeah, we've heard you say it, which is true. You've heard me say that now for probably 2 years. Last year, the holdup was we had 22 residents in Hiawatha Heights that refused to sign a construction easement. Lord knows why. But people are people. And so the city tried everything short of condemnation, which we won't know there, everything to get them to agree to allow us to, we're running new mains down the street, and we wanted to take the main up to the water meter to the house. Well, there's a section before you get to the meter that we would need to have a utility easement to be able to put that in. We should already have that. We didn't. So 22 homeowners went like this. No way. So we resolved that we've taken a year trying to get that. This thing is fully funded, it's fully engineered, it's ready to go, and has been for over a year. So the few holdouts that we have now, we the city made a decision that for those that won't provide the utility easement to connect to their meter, we are gonna bring in our new lines and connect to the existing old line that goes to their meter. And if anything happens in that old section, it's gonna be on them, on the homeowner, right? So I hate to do that, trying to be a very friendly city, that is the sole reason which has caused the delay. So I'll stand here again and tell you this year we're putting in the water lines at Hiawatha Heights, because we are. And after we put in the water lines, we're going back and resurfacing the entire road. So new water lines, new paved roads in our older subdivisions first. When Hiawatha Heights completed, we're moving to the next neighborhood. And continuing to put our money where our mouth is. Hiawatha Heights, to do the water, we're doubling up on fire hydrants and paving the road, is right around $7 million. That's a lot. 7 million is the reason why many communities kick that can down the road, right? Because that's a lot of money. You can be proud of our city that we're just being proactive and we're getting ahead of that. Our downtown improvements. Boy, has my phone been ringing off the hook. A little history of that. Our sewer lines downtown Branson are made of clay. What? Clay. Because they were put in
the third 20s.
Yeah, and so that was what the normal was at the time. It's not holding up, needless to say. So those improvements, we're putting in new water lines, new sewer lines, improving the sidewalks, we're putting lighting to enhance that area, a nice sign that says Historic Downtown Branson. So when it's done, it's gonna be beautiful. And I believe that the businesses will enjoy more revenue, more customers because we're enhancing it. In the meantime, businesses are just screaming at the lack of business. We have gone way out of our way to resolve that. Here's a couple things we've done. The sidewalks in front of each business are open for pedestrian traffic. So the visitors don't have the opportunity to park in front of a store and go in, right? We've designated several areas for additional parking. So I'm gonna say that it's not tongue in cheek, I believe it. Many businesses in downtown Branson, they complain that they don't have parking, don't have parking, don't have parking. After a lot of work on that subject, what's been discovered is the majority of store owners, store employees park in front of their store, right? I've talked to them, I can't do it till I'm blue in the face. Business 101 says, you never take a customer's parking spot. It's realistic to assume visitors will go downtown, they'll drive the block, maybe once or twice, no parking, and they're off to somewhere else, right? We went to, another big issue was when we're gonna start construction. Well, everybody, including the city, says, let's do the construction during our slow time, right? Less interruption, less disruption for the business. So we engaged the downtown businesses so much that their hot button was, how long is it gonna take them to get started? Because they don't want a project that gets started and then gets extended. So we put in some pretty stiff penalties if the contractor does not complete on time. And construction is to start January 2nd. We got no bids. The contractors that we heard from said they were not willing to take the risk of steep financial penalties, and we're asking them to start in January, February, which makes sense. So when we went back out to bid for a April 1st starting, we did two things. We still have heavy penalties if they don't complete on time, We also put in very healthy incentives for if they complete before the time period. I'm gonna stand here and tell you, I do believe that these contractors are gonna be paid handsomely with their early completion bonuses. Kathy Stepp, our city administrator, she also opened up the construction for 24 hours. They can work 24 hours a day. No noise issues, no nothing issues. Contractor loved it because of the amount of work they can get done when the place is empty, right? Any questions so far? Yes.
Are you putting in underground lighting, all the lights, light poles?
Well, what we're doing, no, the lights we're doing, and it looks very attractive. They're gonna be, above the street, to highlight that area. I don't wanna say it's gonna be a canopy of lights, but they're gonna be strung across the streets, just for ambiance. And it does look really good. Any other questions?
Yeah, one of the St. Louis newspapers did a hit piece on Branson being the most dangerous city in Missouri.
You know, I've seen that, and I've seen that several times. And here's what's not fair. They base it on how much crime per capita, right? So that by itself says, you have a population of 12,900, and you have this much crime. On any given day, I think our average is 125,000 visitors during the season. Well, I think if you took our stats to a community the size of Springfield or larger, I don't think we would have that, but I know we get beat up on that all the time. Back when that last article came out, I sent it to Chief Schmidt and asked him if we could address it once again. Thank you for asking that. In 2025, our city had a 14% increase in construction permits compared to the previous year. Over the last 5 years, our city has had $400 million in value of construction permits. Think about that for a minute. 12.9 population, $400 million in new construction. So the naysayers out there, Branson's dying, nobody wants to come to Branson. Well, based on the numbers, that's not necessarily true. We started our red tape review process. What that means is our code book, and I am not exaggerating, our code book printed out is about this. In my opinion, half of those don't need to be in there. I've read some codes, and I've lived here long enough to know that some of the codes were written for specific people, right? And then now they're a code, everybody has to live with them. So that's a long, long process. We've had great successes. An example is we wanted to license our short-term rentals. State of Missouri says you have either a lodging property or you have a long-term rental. So we didn't have language to address the short-term rental. So we wanted to license that industry for a couple reasons. I'm going to tell you, it was also to generate more tax for the community because lodging pays taxes. But it was also for public safety. So we did several things. First thing we did was our administration typed up a code that they were going to recommend that the Board of Aldermen approve that will now go into effect to enforce codes on short-term rentals. I want to tell you something I'm really proud of. There's so many things I'm proud of in the city. One thing I'm proud of is we prepared the code. We also invited the people that are in the short-term rental business to come down to City Hall. They all had a handout of the code. The code was up on our wall. And we went through line item by line item discussing how they felt about it. What could you live with? What are barriers? And it was a healthy conversation. Both sides were trying to get to an end result that they could both live with. In fact, a few of the businesses offered some things that I don't think the city was even gonna ask for their industry. We took their suggestions, rewrote the code, had another meeting with these business owners, and said, based on your input, based on what the city needs, here's the final code, what do you think? Vast majority overwhelmingly approved it. I'm gonna suggest to you, most communities in that situation would come up with a code and put it out there and say, this is now in effect, right? It takes a lot of extra work to govern this way. You can just imagine. But at the end of the day, you get buy-in from your community and you tend to get more support from your community. On those smaller houses that were being converted to short-term rental, fire code says, treating it as a quote motel, they need to have fire suppression systems. Well, that caused a little bit of angst. At the time we were discussing this, I was told there were figures of $20,000 to $30,000 to put in a fire suppression system. How many want to sign up for that, right? So what that did was that just pushed them all, kept them all underground, right? Nobody wanted to report, nobody wanted to do anything. So we passed an ordinance that has fire extinguisher locations in the property instead of suppression, signs on the doors for exits like you would see in a motel. So I believe the city came up with a very creative way to overcome that obstacle. That's not like I'm bragging.
Yeah.
Because I am.
Yeah.
That's what we asked you to do.
That's what you have to do. We just completed our lodging safety initiative. Took the city 18 months. I'm gonna make a statement that may blow your mind. We discovered on just a few of our lodging properties, we were unable to enforce code. Taney County was unable to enforce code because they did not have a city business license. Imagine a motel in Branson, Missouri, no business license, no fire inspections, no health department inspections, no nothing. Could you imagine that? Here comes the mind-blowing statement. 52 properties. Hard to believe? 52 lodging properties in the city limits of Branson did not have a current business license. Holy crap. One property I personally went to had, next to their outdoor swimming pool area, was a laundry room. Exposed 220. Can you imagine? So, a couple things. One is the position our city was in for liability, right? We are allowing this business to operate unlicensed, and somebody gets hurt or worse. We had stair rails going up and down stairs that were teetering on, because of the rust, were teetering on, right? It was all kinds of things. So we decided, since it's such a large issue, our primary goal was to just enforce life safety issues. Not all the other baloney that code goes and says your drywall is something, or life safety issues. We also were conscious that you can't go after all the properties at one time, because if they close down, now you have a mess with what are you gonna do with all these unhoused people. So, again, compliments to your city administration. They reached out to the nonprofits. They reached out to the health department. They reached out and said, here are 3 properties. They have X number of tenants in them. If the property owner chooses not to conform, do you have a place for them to stay? Because the one thing we did at the city level is we use the power of utilities. It's city water. So the stick was, if you don't conform to public safety issues, we're gonna shut off your water. If we shut off your water, people are gonna empty. So in saying that, again, being so sensitive to the people living in these units, because I'm gonna tell you, some of these property owners are out of state and could give a flip. The only thing they cared about is they have to write a check to fix some of this stuff. I think at the end of the day, it took us 18 months because we wanted to do it the right way. I believe at the end of the day, we ended up with somewhere around 5 properties that we ended up shutting down. Primarily, solely because the property owner chose not to put those safety features back in. I'm gonna tell you something, I sleep better at night as the mayor, knowing that that process is done. Do I still sound like I'm bragging?
Sounds like it should be.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
question. All of those out of compliance, out of license, has all of that been now fixed, or are you still working on some?
They, 100%, except for these 5 or so that we closed down, 100% are now licensed. So I haven't heard it yet, but I'm assuming the next thing we'll do is go back and start enforcing some of the other things that a lodging property needs to have.
That's remarkable.
Yeah.
So do you think that maybe the code, because being a former hotel manager for a long time, sometimes the code was so hard that then it got them out of kilter, and if you don't have your code inspection, you can't get your business license. You know, and so it kind of was a revolving, yeah, and so maybe this will help fix it, and taking a look at code. You guys got a really great guy down there that came aboard a few years back, and I dealt with him. First, he was a little different, but in the long run, I understood where he was coming from.
Yeah.
And he told me, just get the national code book and go by it, and so I did, and didn't have any problem.
Yeah, we believe some of our codes are overbearing. Did you giggle?
Hey, I'm there every week, I hear this.
That's fine. So, many of our codes were just, the pendulum was way over here. And so, trying to be friendly to businesses, friendly to owners and residents, we will look at a code and see what their situation is, and Kathy will be the first one to say, understand what you're saying, understand what the code says, let's change the code. They change the code, they bring it up to the Board of Aldermen, the Aldermen approve it, now there's a new code. It's a common sense approach, right? Again, not to repeat myself, but the one area we will not bend on, public safety, life safety issues, right? The roads we have in Branson, which is surprising, population of 12.9, you know the size of our community, but whether it's road maintenance, keeping the roads up to snuff, snow plowing, everything has to do with our roads. In the city limits of Branson, we have 240 miles of road lanes in Branson. Picture this, that's the distance from Branson to St. Louis. If you've driven to St. Louis, can you imagine having to maintain that length of roadway? Compliments to our Public Works Department, for sure. Last year, We improved our Parks and Rec, our turf fields, softball turf fields, with turf instead of grass. Cost a lot of money. I believe the number was about $4 million. We had a grant for $2 million, state grant for $2 million. We pitched in $2 million to improve those fields. We have so many tournaments. People want to come to Branson for all the reasons they want to come to Branson, which are many. In the first year, 200% increase in tournaments and a $56 million in the first year, $56 million economic impact to our businesses. What? Parks and Rec. Why is the city investing $2 million? Well, we want to do it for quality of life and all the reasons. But our businesses, and many of them don't know it, but they benefit greatly when the city uses our tax dollars to do things like that. We just opened our city campground. I don't know if you've seen it. It's downtown. It's an expansion of our existing campground on Lake Taney County. It is beautiful. It is absolutely beautiful. All paved spaces, all the utility hookups, they all have fire pits and picnic tables. That will increase, I believe that itself will increase our parks revenue. Parks manages the RV park. It'll increase the revenues to our parks department to about $300,000 a year. That money is all earmarked for the quality of life of our residents. I should have asked Cindy, I saw her. I believe we're gonna have, I think we did so many parks over the last couple of years, and this year we may finish all of them by improving them. I don't know if you've seen any of our city parks, but when they go in and enhance them, and they really do a good job. And we all believe that it's that quality of life, right, to have a great neighborhood park there. We just think that's something we owe the community. We upgraded our senior center. I don't know if any of you attend our senior center, but over the last year we went in, I think we invested $200,000. We didn't build a new building, but we just upgraded it, and they love it down there. Time for Q&A. Yes.
Update on the police department.
Yeah, we decided not to do that. Our police department is blowing and going. They've ordered the furniture, they've ordered this, they've ordered that. Their expected move-in date is the end of December. If this was not being recorded, I would share with you what rumor control says is our move-in date, but it may just be sooner than the end of December. Let me just leave with that. That's such a huge win. Our officers, where they're at now, it's like a sardine can. I mean, you literally have to step over boxes, and they've got everything in there, and they put in some really cool things. A few things that are not, quote, necessary, but I'm so glad they improved, is they've got a little a grass area with some barbecue pits and some things. So those officers that are serving, that are on duty at the police department, they can have their families come down, right? Spend some time with their family. Just that, because behind every officer, no different than a serviceman. It's the spouse behind them, right, that makes the difference. And, but we have our SWAT team, we have our evidence room, we have criminologists now. I just couldn't be more proud. Could not be more proud, yes.
Mayor, could you talk a little bit about that new sidewalk project that's going in the length of
248, what brought that about all of a
Don't,
sudden?
okay, now, in fairness, don't you think that was a wise investment of tax dollars to take out a paved sidewalk, replace it with concrete for several miles that nobody walks on?
That's the.
I wasn't gonna go there.
Is that city or is that state road? Because it's a state highway.
It's
Yeah, the
state.
answer is, it is Highway 248. It's Highway 248, that is a state project.
So for all the dumb things City of Branson does, that was my city of Branson.
All the dumb things. If we took the list of all the dumb things, we could take that one off.
That was not there.
And we can point to Representative Sykes. When I saw that, I could have fallen out of my truck, right? Now, I knew it wasn't city because we hadn't discussed any of that, and so it didn't take me long to realize that that's not ours. If it was, we would have been having some discussions, right? Like, we've done enough, stop the project. So I don't know what MoDOT's process is, I don't know what the state's process is.
MoDOT doesn't know what the process is.
Somewhere in their world, they've earmarked so much money to go to X, and some of it had to be sidewalks, and they made them all ADA compliant, right? Because they wanted, the state wants to improve all the roads, and excuse me, all the sidewalks to be ADA compliant. So now, all those people with disabilities can traverse that sidewalk with no safety issues.
Yeah, you really needed to be on the other side of the road.
Well, they're on both sides.
They're on
both sides.
Oh,
They're doing both sides.
Oh, yeah, you can't.
Yeah.
Gotta go forth
You
further
can't
to
expect
Branson
people to walk
North
across the
anyway.
street, no.
I'm just saying thank you because on a pipe,
Yeah.
those sewage
Yes.
or those runoff drains, when you hit them,
Stormwater. So you
they're
ride-
level.
So you ride a bike down 248?
Yeah.
That's why we did it.
Our one bike rider.
It's great for people on bikes. And there may be a few, because there's a bunch of apartments out that way, with people who work downtown. So
If it was,
you will see some use there.
if I was in that decision-making process, I most likely would have used those dollars somewhere else.
And you've got a button you can push to cross the street.
Oh, 248?
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
sure do.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's a correct.
No.
Yeah, but it's the same thing, it's the
Oh, is
same.
that where the
Yeah,
sidewalk
they're
is?
by our actually put in those little signal
And it
things.
wasn't,
Walk, go walk.
We've been working for a long time, and I think we finally have one study done. But I've been asked for years about that entrance off of 248 into the Yard Office, Cox parking lot. That's a death trap.
Yep.
Yes, it
It is
is.
an absolute death trap. And so every time there's an accident there, and these are serious accidents, and these cars are getting T-boned and totaled.
Yeah.
So we started exploring that road, and as your mayor, I was gonna go fix that.
You can, it's not ours.
I can't, it's not mine.
That's right.
MoDOT has something to say about that. MoDOT decides what you can and cannot do. Just to make it worse, the roadway leaving 248 heading to Yakov and Cox is a private easement.
That's mercy.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mercy. I'm sorry, thank you.
it's.
Well, if that's the biggest mistake I make all day, it's been a great day. It's a private, that's right, it's a private drive.
Yeah.
So MoDOT doesn't have any authority with private drive. MoDOT has no interest of putting a stoplight, that's a weird question, put a stoplight there to access a quote private drive, right? So I've talked to Yakov, I have not talked to Mercy. And I was gonna ask those two property owners how they would feel of dedicating that roadway, which is called
Morning.
I don't think it has a name.
I don't know.
Wintergreen, coming
Yeah.
up from Branson Hills Parkway is a city street.
Yes.
No, that's the state highway coming down. Where it terminates there at Yakav's, that's the outer roadway to US 65.
If you're leaving Branson Hills Parkway and heading up that way,
Heading south.
heading
That's-
south,
That's a state right of way.
I thought it was a city road.
No, that's the official outer roadway, just like, sometimes they call it Wintergreen because the
Yeah.
road north is
Yeah.
Wintergreen. And that's a state highway up to about the old Youngblood office building.
Okay.
And it's a state highway down to, there's a place right there at Yakov, right in front of Yakov's building. And you can see where the state maintenance ends.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it is all
So-
private drives.
So what I have been asking for and begging is, let's either fix it with cooperation from MoDOT or close it.
Please don't do that, because I need that.
Please don't close it, there's so many people that wanna use it.
Yeah.
It's a flipping death trap. I believe it'll save lives. How would you feel if it saved
There
lives?
needs to be other ways to get north and south through this town. I mean, the entirety of town, but particularly right there. Ketch Road should have been continued through the Altel building up to.
That's correct.
Branson.
That's correct.
Branson, South Drive, needs somewhere right in there, needs to go up to the back end of Best Buy or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
There needs to be multiple ways to get out of there, and there isn't, and right now, the Yakav's parking lot is the only way.
Kelly, thank you for sharing that, thank you for sharing that. I will
Yeah.
bring that up again. I know years ago, we talked about continuing EPS along where Altel is.
Yeah. And the residents back there didn't want anybody back there.
No.
No,
And,
that's a sanctuary,
Uh-huh.
and they're not in the city.
yeah.
No, that's county.
Same way with Shepherd Hills Expressway, should have come straight across. Instead, they put Branson, and, I mean, there's multiple things through the city where the roads don't go where you need to go.
Yeah.
And the reason people go through the Yakav's parking lot is because that's the only way.
Yeah.
And when the interchange gets full, that's the only way you can through that. So, yeah, it is dangerous, it always has been. I mean, and stoplight would be even worse, because you be coming towards town and hit a red light, and it actually would be more accidents with stoplight.
MoDOT has done a few studies, and one they did, which was surprising to me, but I won't question MoDOT. They gave me numbers and percentages of how many accidents are at that intersection we're talking about, Yakov, compared to how many are up the street at the light for, Epps. Uh-huh. Many more
At
at the
light.
stoplight where Epps is versus this corner.
Wow.
Many more. That's surprising.
Does anyone else have
That
it?
whole thing needs to be re-engineered somehow, relocate that driveway where the sightlines are better. It would be kind of a major project, you'd have to take part of Mercy's parking lot to do it. There's been 2 or 3 people talking about that over the years. But, you get the city, state, and then you've got some landowners to deal with. and-
Yeah, the only possible ideas that I've heard that may be practical, again, will catch some heat, is to immediately reduce the speed limit and then enforce it.
Well, we
And-
already did that once, and it didn't have any effect.
How long ago was that?
About 15 or 20 years ago.
Yeah, I'm just
Yeah, it
saying.
used to be, it wasn't 50, if the state said it should be 45, the city of Branson put it at 40 or 35 or something.
40.
Yeah, 40, well, they did it 35 and raised it back to 40.
Okay.
And there was absolute, in fact, the accidents went up when they did that.
So
speed
we're
limit-
looking at reducing the speed limit and putting in, I don't know what they're officially called, those yellow
Pylons.
little thin pylons, so there can be no left-hand turn.
Delineators.
Wow. Well,
It's either we have to make a tough decision or ignore it.
people coming through there and they cut that corner a little bit, they're gonna hit your curves. I don't see that. If you lower the speed.
Would you like to be on the committee?
No, city Branson has no interest in what I say, but if you lower If you lower the speed limit anymore, people are just gonna completely ignore the speed limit.
I've gotten where I ignore the road altogether. I just go down, jump on 65, get right off there at El Lago and just keep, I mean, it's the easiest
Yeah, I
way.
go 65 or I go Branson Hills Parkway and just
Yeah.
avoid that whole thing because.
Them speed bumps, I hated them for years.
Yeah.
Okay, any other topic or question?
Mayor Milton, thank you so much.
Consider yourself.
All right, we've still got about 10 minutes here. I'm gonna let you two boys flip forward. Daniel's up, Daniel's up.
Keep that on until he goes, because he's got important stuff to.
Yeah, oh, we're gonna leave it right.
So Senator Hudson has been having a great session. We're getting close to the end. We had budget markup this week in the Senate, which means we had the budget bills in the Appropriations Committee. The Appropriations Chair changed a couple of things from the House recommendation. Some of them are Senate positions, some of them are going back to the governor's position, some of them are random things that got brought up in the committee. That only matters a little bit because no matter what, the budget is going to conference, which means that conferees will be named from the House and the Senate to come together before the budget is due to be done, and they will decide on what the budget will be before they send it to the governor, who can then veto whatever he wants in the budget. So nobody knows what's going to be in the budget until the governor is done vetoing it. And we've been working through the process. Senator Hudson and Representative Sykes have done a very diligent job when Brad was in the House and now that he's in the Senate, getting funding for Branson for the Highway 76 project. There was 6.2 million in the budget last year, and that is going to be carried over. That's in a budget bill that just passed this week, House Bill 20. So we'll be making sure to stay diligent on that when it comes to the Senate. And then we got 4 million more in the budget for that same project. So that's 10.2 million over the last 2 years for the Highway 76 project, which is so that's a big deal for us right now. The biggest things that are being talked about in the legislature are Prop A, the fix for small businesses. We had about a 10-hour filibuster from the Democrats. They were talking to people outside the building, most likely unions, who were telling them what to do and giving them their marching orders. So the Pro Tem decided to end the debate on that. We will bring it up again. It's not going to be the last time it gets brought up. My anticipation is that we bring it up a couple more times, and if the Democrats still don't want to play ball, then we maybe employ an option that doesn't give them the ability to continue filibustering. The Amendment 3 fix, Representative Sykes will talk more about that. He's done an excellent job, really over a week and a half. The whole session, there's been fights on what's going to happen with the pro-life issue and how are we going to fix Amendment 3, how are we going to repeal, what are we going to do. The ideas fluctuated all session long. He stepped in a week and a half ago, and we now have a fix that's already passed the House. So kudos to him for getting that done very that will now come over to the Senate, where we already have agreement from the Senate sponsor to carry that language. So my anticipation is that we will bring that bill up probably the last week of session to move the previous question on it, get it passed. It does not need to go to the governor. It's a joint resolution, which means that it goes to the Secretary of State to be put on the ballot in 2026. So that'll be great to have there. Senator Hudson's had a great session. He's really been depended on by people in the building, constituents, lobbyists, legislators, to be someone that tells the truth, no matter how hard the truth is to tell. We don't lie to anybody. We don't beat around the bush. We don't waste their time. If somebody comes in and we don't like what they're talking about, we'll tell them. We'll tell them nicely, but we'll let them know. And that's refreshing for all the people that we deal with. They really like the fact that we're just honest the first time they come in. That way they don't have to wonder where we sit on topics. And that is rare in politics these days, to have somebody who can tell you the hard truth, and we can still go our separate ways and be friends, but we'll definitely tell you the truth in our office. We appreciate all the support, appreciate all the prayers. It's been a very busy, hectic session, but a lot more things are getting done this year than have gotten done last year and the previous years. The Senate had been a log jam the past couple of years with lots of infighting. Senator Hudson has been able to kind of be a bridge between some of the parties that have fought before and really help bring people together and work on common sense solutions that we can all agree upon. So Appreciate your support. If you need anything, always let us know. Our office is wide open for people who want to come visit. Shoot us an email, give us a call. We're always happy to hear from people about what needs to get done. If anybody has any questions, I'll take them. If not, I'll give it to Representative Seitz.
Thanks, Daniel.
Thank you, son. All right, doing a lot of work over the past couple of weeks. I'm going to start with the not smaller things, but then I'll get to the big one at the end. You might have questions. Daniel did mention that we got the $4 million for the 76th Entertainment District CID. To get that amount of money from the state, you have to make some deals. You have to say, okay, you know, I may not really care for this piece of legislation, but hey, I can help you on this. Branson needs some money. Daniel and Brad are excellent. Daniel in particular, behind the scenes, and then Senator Hudson, you know, picking up that ball that both of us want to carry and getting it done in the Senate. Never before, since I've been a rep, have I been able to work with my senator in such a close proximity that we're getting a whole lot done. I just presented the Born Alive Protection Act in the Senate. It passed overwhelmingly. Even got some Dems to vote for it in the House. That is, if the infant survives an abortive attempt, that infant should be given the exact same type of care as any other infant of that gestational age. That's a living human being that survived the attempt. You can't just put the infant on the table and let it pass away, or this is terrible, snip its spinal cord or something like that. That's a human being. And I passed it in the House. It's now in the Senate. It'll come out in executive session next week, and we should be able to get that to the governor's desk. That's the Born Alive Protection Act. I'm also removing, as I talked to you about before, non-disclosure agreements from victims of child sexual abuse. Non-disclosure agreements are something that if you work at Coca-Cola and you know the recipe, you signed this saying, I'm not going to give away company secrets. They were never designed to protect pedophiles. So we're going to remove the judicial enforcement of non-disclosure agreements. I'm going to talk to the speaker on Tuesday. Texas is trying to do the exact same thing. New York is looking at it. Texas was going to get it passed last week. I'm going to tell them we can be first at something in Missouri for a change. If I can get that, I've already presented it on the floor. If I can get that done and get it over to the Senate, and Senator Hudson's working with me on that as well. I have been appointed to the State Tourism Commission. Yay! Kind of a great honor. I'm already the chairman of the Tourism Committee in the House, but this will affect tourism across the state. And I don't mind saying who is number one. It's Branson, Hollister, and the Lakes region. We're going to do everything we can to bring people to every single part of the state. So I'm looking forward to being on that commission. I do have a bill in to clean up CIDs. I talked to the mayor about this. I talked to the Board of Aldermen and so forth. There are some CIDs that have been in place for decades. They're not meeting regularly. Money's being collected. It's not being properly spent, or it's not even being spent at all. Ghost CIDs, yes.
What is CID?
What is CID?
Community Improvement
District.
Oh.
My mind's on what I'm about to tell you.
So in other words, community improvement,
Well, community improvement districts, those are set up so that they involve HOAs a lot of the times and so forth. And many of them are not reporting to the auditor's office what's actually going on, where the money's going, how it's collected. Do they have regular board meetings? Do they have regular elections? I'm working very closely with the auditor's office. And what we've decided to do, they're going to make another column, a reporting column, and there's a list of things that you have to check off to have done. If you don't reach 80%, you're in great danger of being dissolved. This is going to force people to be very transparent about what's happening in their community, whatever it was. So we're doing that. I'm fighting Prop A really, really hard. I'm not running the bill. I've got too many bills in the fire. I call it paid vacations. The business owners, small business and big business, cannot afford to give everyone a week's paid vacation called sick leave. If you're a barber shop and you got 5 barbers working in there and one decides to take the day off, if they're legitimately sick, I get it. but you can't ask them. Remember when you used to go to school, you had to give the teacher a note? You can't do that anymore. So it's a sunny day and they want to play golf. That barber's chair is sitting empty, the owner's not making any money, and he has to pay the barber that's not cutting any hair. If you have a theater in town and you've got 100 employees, you're gonna have to give 100 people paid sick leave, a week's paid vacation. To do that, the business owner of that theater is gonna have to fire 3 people to pay for the other ones getting that time off. I'm not touching the minimum wage. That's a whole different issue. These should have been separated anyway. But I'm fighting hard to help the business community remove that. The last thing, I want to congratulate the candidates. Julie, Larry, and anyone else who may have won. Larry, he's going to be mayor until he decides not to be mayor. And then Julie, what a win. What a door that God opened for her. Ran for the legislature, it didn't quite happen. So there was a door already being opened for her to be the mayor of Forsyth. And we're fortunate that the mayor of Forsyth attends our meetings regularly. Amen. So maybe we can start doing some things together. Okay, last thing, HJR 73. That's my bill. I'm the sponsor and handler. It's to repeal and replace Amendment 3. Amendment 3 was the abortion bill that allows for abortion on demand. And it doesn't say it in there, but it's on demand up till 9 months. There are no restrictions. Amendment 3 removed safety precautions for women who were having an abortion. And we talked about this during debate. Anyone that's a healthcare professional, according to Amendment 3, can perform an abortion. It doesn't have to be someone trained in doing that, that can protect the woman's safety and so forth. There's nothing in Amendment 3 that says you have to have equipment on hand that if something goes wrong to save the women. There's no reporting requirements. So I ran HJR 73, and like Daniel said, I've been on a working committee since January. We worked hard, we vetted the bill, and then it just started to slow roll. I said, look, this is the #1 caucus priority for Republicans. I'm taking it. And basically, I told the speaker, I'm taking it. And he said, okay, it's yours, run with it, whatever. Now, it's tough to say this, but in order to get this to pass, remember we had the most restrictive abortion laws in the nation for 1 year. You couldn't get abortion in Missouri. Chemical abortions are not covered, but you couldn't get an abortion in Missouri. Then we went to, because of Amendment 3, the most lax abortion restrictions in the nation. We went from one extreme to the other. How do we save babies and get people to vote with us who believe life begins at conception? Not everyone believes that. I believe that. Most of you believe that. We have to present something that will pass. So I've allowed for the exceptions of rape and incest, fetal viability, and health of the mother. Okay? There may be certain times when this has to happen. Or I'm not going to get into the mind of someone who was raped, someone, raped either by a family member, some incest, or rape. I'm not going to try to get into that mind. That's just a horrible thing. But I think as a compassionate Christian, we understand that many of the people who voted for Amendment 3, unless they're just an ultra-left-wing wacko, that voted for Amendment 3, were looking for those exceptions. We're looking for the women to make that decision. And we've allowed that in the legislation up till 12 weeks, which is still within the first trimester. There was a push to get it at 16, I said, at second trimester. Absolutely not, no way, period. Less than 1% of the abortions that take place for rape there is less than 1% in the state of Missouri. Mm-hmm. Or incest, it's less than 0.5%. So what we're going to do, if this amendment is voted in, it will go before the voters November of 2026, you will be able to make a decision to save lives. I've had some people say, well, we're not saving every life. I can't vote for a bill that doesn't save every single baby ever in the history of the world. Well, let me tell you, what you got right now is abortion on demand. Mm-hmm. That's what you have. Are we going to save 98.7%, or are we just gonna let babies die? So sometimes you have to take a pragmatic approach to get things done. And once this passes, also in the bill, there's a severability clause. If something is found to be unconstitutional, other parts of the legislation will stay in place. It also allows the legislature to come take a look at it again and see how we might tweak it just a little bit. We're allowing the Missouri citizen to vote on this issue. It's not being forced by the legislature. That was one of the things that the other side of the aisle would say, you're forcing us, you know, you're taking control of women's bodies, or you're doing, no. We're gonna allow the Missouri citizens to vote on this issue with very concise language in the ballot statement. It's 50 words, very concise. It also protects minors who might be involved in transgender surgeries and or hormone blockers, that sort of thing, to turn a little boy into a girl or a girl into a boy. Which doesn't happen. Your DNA declares what you are, your blood declares what you are. What we're going to do is allow children to reach the age of 18 where they can have the cognitive ability, except for men because they don't reach until 25, where they can have the cognitive ability to, well, whatever. Cognitive ability to make those decisions for themselves and let them be kids, let them be safe as children. I'm going to need a lot of support for HJR 73. Missouri Right to Life has endorsed it. They did not endorse some of the previous incarnations of the bill. That's why we went with this one. I'm working with Senator Adam Schnelting. I purposely mirrored his language in the Senate so there's no roadblocks. As Daniel said, it's going to go from the House to the Senate. It'll probably be the last week, and there is some legislative means to get that bill passed despite any supposed filibusters or something like that. We're going to save infants, and I'm asking that everyone get on board. Last thing, and then I'll take the 2 limited questions. I know we're way over. I went to the bank. I won't tell you which bank, so you don't know which teller. I went to the bank today. She said, thank you. And I said, for what? For what you did on HJR 73 and how you got that passed. You were reasoned, you were whatever she said. I'm not going to brag on myself, but I'm almost getting goosebumps. She said, that's the reason I voted for Amendment 3. She said, I don't believe in abortion. I want to save babies. I'm 100% pro-life. But in her mind was the idea of the possibility of rape or incest. And I think, and she thanked me for running this bill, I think that's what people were voting for when they walked in. So we are giving them that up until 12 weeks, and we're going to save as many as we can, because that's what we're supposed to do. Questions, real quick?
Do the Democrats not realize that their policy on abortion is what is causing the United States population to age out just the same as the Chinese population?
Yeah, population is declining.
It's literally killing native United States citizens.
Sure, absolutely. And do they
They are
realize
not
that?
protecting
No.
life.
Yeah. Do they realize it? No.
Do they care?
You know, here's the funny thing. I presented this bill. I got I had 4 hours on Tuesday on the House floor presenting the bill, arguing back and forth with the Dem. I didn't argue. I just presented what was in the bill. I presented truth, very calm. They got very emotional. One guy shouting, I should be ashamed of myself. Standing up there attacking me from left and right. I'm standing there. And Daniel warned me, you know, don't act like yourself. Don't be a bull in a china shop. Go ahead, get this done. Very even keeled. And here's what happened. As soon as we're done, 11 people, 11 Democrats came up to me. 2 of the women hugged me. Some of the men said, personally, we are pro-life. We would never allow abortion in our family either. And they thanked me for bringing this type of legislation. So on camera, the Dems are very hateful and aggressive.
Amen.
When we're in private,
Yeah.
so I'm saying, hey, you know, we appreciate what you did. And they may vote for the bill. Last one, or 2 more, and then I know we're late, Kelly.
I was just gonna ask when the end of the session was, but I was gonna comment. Amendment 3 was a backlash against the restrictions on
Yeah.
abortion. And there was a danger of a counter backlash. Hopefully what you all are coming up with is something that's gonna move in the.
What we're doing is closer to middle ground. It is to the right, but it's closer to middle ground. That's where most Missouri citizens are at.
I was gonna say, your Democrat people who are going home and talking against you, they're probably having to complain to their constituents.
I get 175 emails a day, whatever. Most of them are hate, telling me what I can do with my private portion, what my mother should have done when I was conceived, and the fact that I'm supposed to be going to hell by people that don't even believe in hell. So it's all very entertaining.
May 16th is the end session.
Any more than that?
Your function in the legislature is to take all that.
No, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's why I wear the shirt.
May 16th.
Yep. All right, we're good? Yes, real quick.
People are wondering why Social Security is going broke. It's because we're killing the people that are supposed to be making.
That's been happening
money.
since the 70s. Those that would be at prime working age right now don't exist.
Exactly.
That is harming the nation. Okay, Monica wants to speak, or she doesn't want to speak? She's going to.
Thanks, Brian.
Monica with the Branson Chamber and CVB. I will be very quick. I also want to congratulate the city of Branson and their police department, because the City of Branson Police Department was one of the first 15 communities that Governor Kehoe signed into a Blue Shield designation, and that reflects the commitment that the police department has to the citizens. And one more thing I wanted to share really quick is Rally Point Branson. It's Memorial Day weekend. There is a website dedicated to it. It's rallypointbranson.com. It is welcoming veterans, active duty members, their families to come to Branson. That involves, and you can find this out on the website, Friday, May 23rd, 6 to 10 p.m. There's going to be a free kickoff celebration with live music. I don't know where that is, but I'm thinking it might be the landing. Do you know? Maybe it's at the landing. But free music, family fun, activities for kids and everyone. You can network with other veterans and resources there. Saturday, May 24th, there's a veteran social with free go-karts, dark rides, the free brew crew in our office for, that's interesting, I didn't know we were doing that. A free brew crew in our office that Saturday from 1 to 3 p.m. where you can come and mingle with other folks. And then on Sunday, May 25th, the Alabama concert at Thunder Ridge. They are selling tickets to veterans for $10 for that. So go to rallypointbranson.com to find more out about that. And that's all I'm going to say.
Thank you. Well, thank you guys so much. Really appreciate you coming out today. Mayor Milton, thank you very much. We appreciate the good job you're doing. Daniel, so Brad, we've always got his back. If you guys need anything, let us know. Same as you, Brian, you know that. Monica, if you get more information on that, you've got my email, send it to me, and I'll get it out to all of our
I'll do
members.
that, yes.
Okay? All right, guys, thank you so much. We're gonna go ahead and cut it. Julie, congratulations. Bless you. Glad you won. We actually got to actually sit down and visit before.
I got a guided sewer tour, so
Come home talk next time, and that's your home run ballpark there. Jody, Keith, Shane, Keith, you too, everybody, thank you guys. Have a great day, guys.